You're listening to All Hands on Tech. Come along as we get to know the people and businesses behind the province's ever-expanding tech sector.
Each episode, we'll chat with local experts to uncover the hidden gems that make Nova Scotia a hub for collaboration, innovation, and creativity.
All Hands on Tech is proudly produced by Digital Nova Scotia, the industry association for Nova Scotia's growing tech sector. Hey, welcome back to another episode of All Hands on Tech. I'm your host, Eilish, and today we're going to be chatting all about storytelling and strategy and how the two go hand in hand. amPR is a consulting firm that specializes in public relations, communications, and marketing strategies. And founder Ashley MacInnis has carved out a really unique space in the business world, helping brands show up authentically and strategically across all the platforms. And there are so many of them. Whether she's crafting campaigns, leading communications during a crisis, or amplifying stories that matter, she brings a thoughtful and value-driven approach to absolutely everything she does. And she does it all while also being supermom at home. And today, she is joining us here to talk about it all. Hey, Ashley, how you doing?
I'm good, especially after that intro.
Well, I mean,
goodness.
Listen, you're a storyteller. I'm a storyteller. I had to really show up for that one.
We're going to be here forever.
I know. This is going to be like a 4-hour
all
long.
day.
Exactly. We're going to have to keep tight on our timeline.
We'll try.
We'll do our best. So with the start of all of our podcast episodes here on All Hands on Tech, we like to ask just a couple icebreakers, kind of to get to know you a little bit more before we get to know your business.
Okay.
Are you ready for these tough questions?
I'm so ready.
Okay. I feel like I do kind of already know the answer to the first one simply because you are a mom, but are you a sleep right until that last possible second before you roll out of bed and jump on a call? I know you kind of work from home sometimes. Mm-hmm. Or do you prefer, your 5 to 9 before your 9 to 5?
No, do you know what? This always shocks people. We stay in bed very late.
Do you?
We got up at 8 a.m. this morning. So we trained our kids to stay in bed.
Whoa.
That is my single greatest
accomplishment
yeah, definitely.
As a business owner,
all just across the board.
Across the board.
Yeah, good sleepers.
Okay, so I think in the future we're going to have you back to just do an entire episode on that because obviously don't have kids myself, would like to have them, but the thing that I hear the most is that like, oh no, up at the crack of dawn and they're ready to go.
Yeah, the lack of sleep can be really, really hard, and we went through that with our toddler. He was getting up at 4 a.m. It was so painful, right? And it was like, the January to March stage that he was doing it. And so I would be sitting on the floor in the living room with the fireplace on, watching these awful YouTube. Any parent out there knows the YouTube obsession is real.
Of course.
And I'm like, we can't do this any longer. So we went back to sleep training again, but we focused on mornings.
Okay.
And now both of my kids are lazy bones and they get up between 7:30 and 8.
That's incredible.
Which is delightful.
Okay, well, when and if it happens and, my husband and I pop out some kiddos, we will be coming to you.
I will sleep train your children.
Perfect. We'll figure out the cost.
This might be a new business.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, go-to coffee order. So it sounds like you don't even necessarily need it to survive, but what's your coffee order?
I sure do. If I'm going to Espresso 46, which if you haven't gone, it's on Isleville Street.
Okay.
I always get a double cappuccino.
Okay.
And Federico is the reason why we now own an espresso machine. So I often just go straight for an Americano. Okay. Quick, easy. Sorry, kicking you.
That's okay.
Quick, easy. Does the trick.
Nice.
So tasty.
Ooh. Nice,
but there's something special about the milk,
Oh, yeah. A nice, warm, frothy milk.
Mm-hmm.
Yum.
Really does it for me.
Okay, good. I know you like to read, podcast, all that sort of good stuff. Show even. What are you binging right now? Any good recommendations?
Ooh, we're watching Yellowstone. We're very late to the party. We're always tardy to the party on TV.
I mean...
So that's unfortunate for us.
You have some excuses. You've got 3 excuses at home for that.
We've got a few things going on. Yeah. So we're watching Yellowstone right now.
Okay.
And we're in, I think, the last season, which is devastating. But also, oh boy, she's gone very sideways.
Man, okay. So unfortunately, I can't really contribute a whole lot to that conversation because Brian, our podcast producer, who's behind the scenes here, he and I were actually just talking about that earlier this morning that I haven't done Yellowstone.
Oh,
yeah, should I?
It's really good.
Okay.
We resisted for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also just watched The Lioness not terribly long ago, and that was impossible to turn off.
Okay. Yeah. See, that's what I like in a show.
That ruined my sleep.
Okay. The other, right? The other thing for me is that I love the actual binging. I
too.
don't like to
I
have
can't
to
wait.
wait weekly.
No, have
I
no
recently
patience.
got into the Traders, which
Ooh,
I love.
haven't watched.
Not one that I thought I was going to, but I've really enjoyed it. But I didn't love that I had to wait weekly for each episode. So things like Yellowstone would be a good one for me because
You
they're
can just
done,
walk
right?
straight
It's
through. I
yeah.
think so, yeah.
Okay.
I'm the
Okay.
same way.
Yeah.
I need to be able to just watch
Right?
14 episodes
Because if I'm hooked,
overnight.
exactly. I need the answers and I
Right.
need them right now.
I
Well,
can't
in the
wait.
14 hours it takes for me to finish a season. But anywho. Okay. So that's getting to know you and your home life a little bit. And we will dive into that a little bit more because a lot of, I called you a super mom and you are, but you're also, super businesswoman and you seem to, from the outskirts, I'm not in your home with you, but from the outskirts, you certainly seem to balance it all really well. You'll probably laugh and say, glad it looks that way because a lot of moms do who are also in business, but you're playing the part. You're at least faking it till you
There
make
we
it.
go.
So we'll dive on into that a little bit more, but
That's the trick.
let's, right? You're surviving every day. It's great.
Thriving
Every day, even better. Okay, let's go all the way back to the very beginning. When did you know that you actually wanted to go out on your own and start your own consulting firm? What was that process like for you?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I always wanted to do something. I feel like I have a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
So I would dive into something and bless my parents. I'm sure they were just convinced I would never find something I would stick with. And I don't blame them. So like many, many years ago when my oldest was just a toddler, I started making jewelry. And right around the time people were like catching on to it and I was getting orders, I thought, I don't want to do this anymore, and just totally threw in the towel. So I'd always be noodling, like, what could I do on my own? My mom and dad are lobster fishermen. So I always watched them working really hard and, building a life sort of by their own terms, which was really cool. So I kind of felt like I wanted to go in that direction. And then I was working for a company called Intro Hive and had always been doing like a little something off of the side of my desk, like a little project here and there. I blogged. I wrote a dinosaur to my first mommy blog, which was very fun. So always kind of had some like little things happening. But when I went on mat leave with our toddler, who's 3 now, I was noodling, will I go back to work or will I start my own business? So I wound up being headhunted by a Series A tech startup out of Waterloo, Ontario, called Uvaro. Joined them when Sebastian was 7 months, I think, 8 months. So cut my mat leave early, and then they ran out of money. And I was laid off, and I was 14 weeks pregnant with Elliot, who's our third baby. So he's 18 months now. And knowing that I was going into another mat leave, my husband and I spent a lot of time talking about, what's this going to look like? We're about to have 2 under 2 and a teenager. How are we both going to be working full time?
Yeah.
What if I have to be traveling? So I had actually, it was kind of fortuitous timing. I had just registered amPR Inc. business name and had started filling out the paperwork. Hop on the webinar of death, or like the Zoom call of death, where it's just a blank screen and the founder talking to you saying, if you're on this call, it's because your job has been impacted. Had like a full meltdown for about 15 minutes and then texted our friend who's a lawyer and said, hey, can you help me with the paperwork side of things? Yeah. And it will be 2 years on the 21st since amPR was officially born.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a wild process. Kind of came to be out of necessity, but I think I would have done it sometime. I just probably needed that little kick in the tush to get it moving.
I mean, some really great things grow out of the word desperation. Does it feel right?
I was also thinking desperation, and it was a bit. It was like, holy sugar honey iced tea, how are we going to move forward with 3 kids?
Absolutely.
I don't know if anyone's bought groceries recently, but they're wild, and with a teenager who's in sports, it's like all I do is feed this growing child.
Yes.
I was like, well,
which like is a requirement, I'm told, of having
allegedly
kids.
we're supposed to feed them.
You gotta feed them, you gotta water them,
clothe them, and all of the things. Yeah, so it was sort of a holy
Mhm.
crap moment.
Yeah.
We need to do something. But I think I would have continued to drag my heels a little bit longer. So
Yeah. So yeah,
it
you
was
needed it.
definitely a fortunate turn of events.
Okay, so how are you feeling now? You're almost 2 years in.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been
Yeah,
2 years. 2 years ago, I couldn't even see 6 months
sure.
out, honestly. And it's been really interesting. And I've had an opportunity to work with so many different clients that it hasn't looked at all the way I thought it would. And I'm
Mhm.
really grateful for that. And now I'm in a stage of like really needing to trust the process. The world is crazy right now.
That is an understatement.
Yeah, the world is crazy. And so I've just been really leaning in and trying to work with my clients as closely as I can so everybody can navigate
Mhm.
things at the same time.
Mhm. I mean, it's such an interesting kind of crossroads that, as, communications PR, you're probably helping, your clients kind of navigate the craziness.
Big time.
But on the back end, you're also trying to navigate the craziness.
Totally. Yeah. For
And
some of my clients, tariffs have been a really big concern. And then there's the twofold piece of that in that they're being hit with tariffs. Now, how do we manage the messaging to our customers that prices are going to be increasing, that we may not be able to get the products that they have loved and trusted up until now, and that they've maybe, like in some cases, they were the exclusive retailer. So a lot of time spent behind the scenes, sort of figuring out how to navigate very choppy waters and continue to build trust with those customers and with the, their other business partners that they're working with.
It really is quite a navigation period, I feel,
Definitely.
for everybody involved. And I don't think we're any closer to understanding how this all works. It's
Not at all.
Day by day, hour by hour.
Absolutely.
Tweet or X post by
Yeah, I know.
Anywho, that could be a whole other podcast episode.
Honestly.
Ugh. Okay, let's dive into amPR.
Yeah.
Tell us all about it. What sort of work are you doing for your clients? What sort of clients do you have? You certainly don't have to name anybody by any means. I know, you kind of probably hold that a little close to the chest, but who are you as amPR?
Yeah. So I'll confess, I figured I would mostly work with tech companies because it was the space that I'd come from. And instead I have worked with a little bit of everything.
Cool.
So one of my first clients was a creative economic development firm that were based out of the UK, which was really exciting. And with them, I did the full gamut of marketing. So for many of my clients, I come in as a bit of a fractional marketing support. So either they know that they have a need for marketing, but they're not quite sure what that's going to look like within their organization. So in some cases, I come in and I help develop the framework for them to hire a full-time marketing person. In other cases, it's they have some marketing internally, but maybe they don't have marketing leadership. So they need someone to come and support more on the strategy side, which is always really fun because I get to play to the strengths of the team internally. But my focus is always on telling stories. So we don't relate to a logo.
Yeah.
We don't relate to brand colors, unless you're Apple or Mercedes, the really big brands, of course, we recognize and we have strong affiliations with what they mean. But for most of us, we're not, we don't look at a Pepsi label and go, it really spoke to me.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So it's really about the stories behind the brand. And they're often really wonderful stories and helping my clients actually meet their customers where they are as well and hear their stories back to themselves. So I love the Donald Miller story brand approach. I usually give that book to all of my clients when we start working together to help them understand kind of the position that I'm coming from. And then really we work on everything. So I have some clients for whom I only do publicist retainer. So I'm just pitching them left, right, and center, trying to get some stories placed for them, sometimes creating content alongside them to have placed in relevant media. For other clients, I'm doing their meta ads and Google ads, which is new-ish to me and something I hadn't previously offered. but I'm looking forward to offering as a package this year
Nice.
because I've seen a need for it
Of course.
within my clients. And also I was always referring it out and thought I could learn this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stack
So
that resume.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of everything really,
Cool.
which is fun. I love sometimes coming in and being the person writing the X post.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not really a piece of it that I don't play in.
Nice.
And I just try to be what the client needs as much as I can be. And if it's not a good fit, I love being able to refer a potential client to someone else so that they can get really what they need.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just speaking, from our experiences together, you're everywhere all the time. I feel like your connections, your little Rolodex of people is very vast. How important is that networking side of it? As, it's just you at amPR. So how important is that networking side for even just being able to then offer, if it's not your services, it's knowing the right person to recommend?
Absolutely. I often think back to when I first started networking, which was so scary.
Yes.
And I was a single mom of a toddler, and I would call ahead to ask if I could bring him to events with me, and I'd have him set up in the corner because I was too broke to afford a babysitter often. So he'd be in the corner with his little iPad, watching or playing a game. And then he would actually get involved. And so we have a stack of business cards that he collected when he was like, preschool age, which is actually so cute.
Oh my goodness.
But I learned really quickly that when you're networking, it has to be about how you can connect other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I have built a network.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a great network of supporters, which is huge in Halifax, Nova Scotia in general, but Halifax in particular is such
Mm-hmm.
a fabulous city to be developing your own business in, because the community just can't do enough
Mm-hmm.
for one another, which is so special.
Yeah.
There's no sense of competition,
right?
Which is really nice.
It is nice. We just kind of want to uplift one another.
Yeah.
It's great.
Which is incredible. So I spent a lot of time building relationships. Trust is huge to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want to make sure that I'm nurturing the relationships and that I'm building trust with everyone in my network as much as I can. And I feel really grateful that people had trusted me enough to say, hey, I want to refer you.
Mm-hmm.
To date, I haven't spent any money on advertising. It's really all been word of mouth and recommendations, which has been
That's a huge feat.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm really honored by that my clients or my past connections have felt comfortable referring other people to me. So that means so much to me. And then I try to pay that forward as much as I can to say, hey, do you know what? I can do this for you, but this person can do it better. So I'm going to connect you with them instead.
And I feel like even just being able to, as a business, really kind of acknowledge that, hey, I could do it. It's not my strength per se, but I know somebody, whose strength that it is.
Exactly.
And to me, if I'm a client or, potential client, the idea of okay, so, she didn't just take this on thinking I'll
just take their money.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah. That to me then says, okay, I'm ultimately going to come back to her because she was honest about her abilities.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And, even beyond that, someone reached out to me recently. I'm just going to keep playing footsies with you.
It's okay. It's helping us build trust.
Totally. Someone reached out to me not too long ago and said, could I introduce you to one of my clients?
Okay.
They have a business. They're just looking to kind of get their name out there a little bit more. And I didn't ask for a budget. I asked for nothing. I just reached out and said, hey, can I throw some pictures out? Can you send me some materials?
Mm-hmm.
I'm already pitching half of my week anyway, probably about 15 or 20 hours a week. I'm pitching things out anyway.
Okay.
It is nothing for me to just throw together another quick pitch. And if it means that this person is able to get a little bit of a ground hold, then maybe they will come back and there's an opportunity for us to work together later.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more important to me to see someone get a chance to succeed early on because people took that chance with me previously. So it's just really nice to be able to pay it forward.
It's such an important lesson to learn, I think. But you kind of touched on it a little bit, that, you kind of felt that you would always work in the tech space. And that's obviously, how you and I are connected today. We're connected outside of that as well. But public relations and communications and marketing isn't always, I think, the first thing that people think of when they think of
Not at all.
tech. Yeah. Okay. So you know exactly where I'm going with this. Obviously, your work clearly intersects that. Tell me how that kind of even came to be. Why did you think you were always going to be in this space, existing in this space?
Yeah. So I should actually take it back. When I started my business, I thought I would work with tech companies. When I went to PR school, I thought I would be a professional fundraiser in the nonprofit space.
Okay.
So plot twist.
Yeah.
And actually, I really didn't see a space for me in tech growing up and when I was doing my education. And now that I'm older and wiser, I'm really sad that no one said to me sooner, there's a whole playground in the tech space for your specific skill set. I grew up in a rural area where my parents always told me I could be whatever I wanted to be, but I felt very much through school that I was pushed towards the arts, which was the right thing. I'm definitely where I'm supposed to be, but I had great science and math marks too. So I could have done either. So I was actually, I was with the Salvation Army for a couple of years in a very traditional public relations role, fundraising, PR coordinator, bounced around a little bit. And then I landed one of the coveted roles as a communications advisor with Communications Nova Scotia, RIP.
RIP.
And it was really exciting. And it had this moment of like, I made it, I've done it. Like I've got, especially growing up in a rural area, like government jobs seemed like the most important jobs on planet Earth. Stable,
which is ironic now, talking about the fact that
so I was laid
CNS
off.
doesn't exist.
The position was it was a term, and they decided not to extend the term, which happens. And I was really glad it did. So as I was crying on my way back to where I was parked illegally, I tweeted, "I just got laid off. I'm looking for a new job." And a recruiter locally who's now become a good friend and is actually my neighbor, Scott McGaw.
Oh, no way.
Sent me a DM on Twitter and said, hey, I might know a role for you. And that catapulted me into tech. So I accepted a position about a month later with STI Technologies. And I was there for 4 years. So it was awesome. I was the first communications person they'd ever hired, which was really exciting. And I got to dabble in the marketing side of things there too. So really developed my skills. And then I bounced around a little bit, but I've otherwise really stayed in tech since, 2015. So 10 years. Wow. Of being in tech. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's sort of how that happened, but it was totally a fluke.
Yeah. I mean, when people always say that, it's like, okay, yes, the fact that, you just happened to tweet that day and the algorithm showed it to him and whatnot. Maybe, we can say that's a little fluky, but obviously your skills and your abilities have played a part. We don't need to talk about how big of a part, but it's a big part, I'm sure. That kind of leads me to, wanting to discuss your role. You recently moderated one of our Talking Tech panels.
Oh, so fun.
Reimagining Tech Careers, the Nonlinear Path to Leadership, which is a mouthful, but an important title. Tell us a little bit, about that experience. I think, what you just spoke about is that, nonlinear.
Absolutely.
That speaks to that side of it. But how was your experience? What actually made you want to take part and moderate that panel?
Oh, I mean, how could I not get on a panel with those ladies?
Oh my gosh, aren't they all incredible?
So smart.
Yes.
I think it's just really, my oldest is heading to high school next year. And the more I talk to him and his friends, the more I'm hearing the pressure that we all felt at one point too, which was I need to get the job. I need to go to college or university. I need to get the degree. I need to get the job. I need to do A, B, C, D.
Yep.
And for most of us, that's not
absolutely
how our careers or our lives are going to go.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right. So I feel like it's so important to shine the light on the fact that A, there's not one path. And absolutely. B, the path you're on is probably not the path you're going to stay on
Right.
longer term.
Absolutely.
So I was really excited when I was asked to participate in that because I feel it so deeply.
Yeah.
And I'm 37 now. I have 3 kids. I'm running my own business, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be running my own business forever. Maybe I will go client side again. Maybe I'll start a sleep training business. Who knows?
The possibilities are endless.
Exactly. So I think it's the world we live in now. Like things are changing so quickly that some jobs ultimately won't look the way that they do now in 5 or 10 years.
So, or even exist. I think that's a reality for a lot of folks right now.
I think so, which is really sad. But, even over the last couple of months, I've been doing courses to learn more about different areas that I didn't know about because I'm recognizing that that's probably where my business needs to go with doing digital ads. I did a bunch of design courses because I was like, hey, it's really expensive to pull in a designer every time I need something done. Can I be doing a little bit of this myself? Yeah. Not the big things. I definitely still need a designer for those. A designer I am not. But can I be making small edits and tweaks? Probably. So how can I do that? So I think, and Judith talked about it a lot, was upskilling, like constantly upskilling, looking for new ways to bring your passion and recognizing someone does need what you're thinking about. Yeah. Which was definitely the case for Irene with her business. So it was inspiring as heck to be on that call. And then also to have that feeling of, okay, it's not just me.
Right. Yeah. I have a group. There are others who have experienced this. Maybe not exactly the same. Like we say, everybody's path is different. Totally. But yeah, to be surrounded by folks who have at least similar feelings and thoughts and
definitely
representation. It all comes back to representation.
It really does.
It's so important. Well, I mean, we, obviously loved having you moderate. You brought, a unique perspective to it. And so thank you very much for that. And if folks are wanting to watch, it is on our YouTube channel. So you can take it in if you weren't able to go and attend live. It was all virtual, of course, but attend live anywho. On your website, you talk about 3 really big leaps in your life that have kind of led you to exactly where you are today. Tell me about those leaps.
Yeah. It sounds really corny.
No.
But I'm a corny person. So fine.
Let's lean in. Everybody should be.
I'm corny. It's fine. Yeah, I really do feel like it was 3 big leaps. So when I look back at everything over the course of my adulthood, I had my oldest son when I had just turned 22, like not even a full month earlier. I had no business becoming a mom at that point. And it was really, really scary. And I heard a lot that this is it. You've made this choice. So you have to say goodbye to the other things that you wanted in your life. And it would have been really easy to believe that. But I am very stubborn and decided, no, I shall do what I wish.
Yeah.
But it was really scary and navigating parenthood. None of my peers had kids.
Yeah.
So I was really out there on my own. But it was definitely like a kick in the butt that I needed. And
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah, very much. And so my oldest is Finley, he's 15. We grew up together in a really big way. But when he was 2, I decided to go back to school. Okay. I was managing a restaurant, which was really fun.
Yep.
I loved the team I was working with. I was actually much better than I thought I would be in that position.
Okay.
But my relationship with Finley's dad had just disintegrated, and I was not okay, which is okay. And I decided I really wanted to go after my dream of going into public relations, being a storyteller, which was really where I felt my passion lied. And I left Finley with my mom and dad in Cape Breton, and I came back because I could afford school and rent, but not also daycare. So I had to make a decision, and I'm so grateful that I had the support system to do that, because not everyone does.
Yeah.
And I recognize what a privilege that is. So Finley stayed with my parents for about 6 months,
Okay.
which was the hardest thing
Yeah.
I've ever done and will ever do. And it's funny because now people are like, oh, it must have been really hard to go back to work right after Elliot was born. Because I took precisely 6 days off.
I know. We will talk about that.
When Elliot was born. And I'm like, no, that's
Yeah.
not hard. Hard is going to bed at night, knowing your child is a 4.5-hour
Yeah.
drive away and missing you, and you can't really explain
Mm-hmm.
why we're doing this
Of
right
course.
now.
Of course.
Thankfully now he gets it. We've gone through lots of therapy as well, but he gets it.
And I can imagine, like, I can only imagine
Yeah.
just how difficult, that is on both of you. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you made that choice so that he would have the best life possible.
Yeah. And if he was here, I think he would say he has a pretty good life. And he's a great kid. So
Yeah.
I would, when he did come to Halifax with me, we would get up. That was when I had the 5 to 9 before the 9 to 5. So we left the house by 7 a.m. every day so I could get him to daycare.
Mm-hmm.
I was a daycare subsidy parent.
Yeah.
I looked for the support where I could find it, which meant a lot of swallowing pride.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Finley was 6, I met Mark. We really didn't know if we would have more kids, and that was cool. And I was just kind of working, trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grow up. Still figuring that out.
Still working on it. We've got time.
We're still there. We're still there. And then, so I kind of had like this leap into parenthood, and then really like put it on the line, I think, to come back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was laid off again, it was the like, okay, now's the time. And it's funny because 3 now has become such an important number for me. And I think when it's like when you buy a new car and you just keep seeing that car everywhere you go.
Yep.
But for me, it's been 3. So I've noticed like it's become the recurring numbers. Like I go to the gym now and I always sign up for station number 3 if I'm like going solo. If I go with a friend, we set up where we can like hang out and like, chat instead of sweat. But now 3 has become like the number in my life, which is just weird. So I'm hoping one of my kids will wear 3 when they play hockey. And I can take no more leaps because neither my nerves nor my knees can handle.
No more. We're done leaping.
No more.
We're done leaping. So, okay. So we've talked about how you've gotten here.
Yeah.
We've talked about the kiddos. Let's talk about how you actually manage that, because not only, are you business and also mom, but you're also a hockey mom, a hockey manager mom. Growing up in a hockey family myself, I know that tournaments and games and all of it take a lot out of you.
Yeah.
I don't own my own business, but I can imagine that takes a lot out of you. How do you actually balance it? Like the nitty gritty answer.
Yeah.
I don't want, I make sure to drink my greens. Not that I expect that out of you, but you kind of tend to get that sort of answer when you ask this question.
Yep.
The really real side of it is,
it's a shit show.
Perfect.
Like I'll be fully honest.
Yeah.
And I think back often on my mom and dad who had a really short season as lobster fishers. They had a short season to make it work.
Yeah.
And there was they made a lot of sacrifices. My mom would fish with my dad, which meant my brother and I spent nights at my nanny's house. My nanny and papa, they didn't sleep.
Yeah.
They were getting up at 3:30 in the morning. Yeah. So there's a lot of sacrifice in our house in the run of a day or a week. Sometimes it is bringing my laptop to the rink.
Okay.
And working. Sometimes it's working on, I was going back and forth with a client last night. It is a lot of give and take. We have a great support system. Both of our families are very involved with the kids, which is great.
Nice.
My kids go to daycare full time and they are better for it.
Absolutely.
They love daycare and I love daycare. And I honestly cherish the ground that the staff walk on because they are amazing and my kids are so loved while they're there. And it's a lot of making hard decisions, honestly. So last season before this one for hockey, I don't think I missed any games, but I brought baby Elliot to every game. So we might be in Muscatobit for an 8:30 start, and I had a baby,
oh my gosh,
wrapped up in his little snowsuit gear, so that I could be there watching the game. But it also meant taking 6 days off when he was born, because I knew I didn't want to lose my clients coming back afterwards. And my clients were all wonderful about it. I'm like, are you sure you should be on this call? I'm like, yes, it's fine. And I worked half days for the most part. I had surgery in November last year, 2024. And I actually took more time off after surgery than I had after having the baby, which was really nice. And then, you know what, I'll be honest, I had this moment of, I didn't get the mat leave. Yeah. And I hated maternity leave with Sebastian because I was bored. I missed working. Yeah. So I'm okay. I've had to come to a place where I'm okay with the fact that I really love my work. And I love my kids too, but I can love them at different times.
Two things can be true at once. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. You can mourn that time that you feel like you may have missed, not taking that time off. But you can also absolutely love and be proud of the fact that you kept a business going as a solopreneur. Yeah. I have to imagine that that's a tough situation, client-based especially, that you've got demands. Their demands don't stop just because you had a baby. Exactly. As kind as they may be, they still have businesses as well, business. Right?
Yeah, it's business. So I feel like I compartmentalize a lot. So I really try to keep, I mentioned just before we started recording, one of my clients is just going through a really tough time right now. So we made the decision to end our contract. And they were so apologetic. And for me, it was like, but this is business. Yeah. And I sometimes have to go to people I'm working with and say, hey, I'm really sorry. I have to, stop this subscription for a little while, or I'm actually not going to have any work, particularly with designers or copywriters that I've pulled in. Hey, this project is wrapping up and I don't have anything new for you, but I hope we can work together again later. And those are hard decisions because I know I'm impacting someone else's business. Yeah. And then at home, sort of the same. Like I have to make hard decisions on whether I'm going to the hockey game tonight, or is it going to be next week's game that I'm going to? And am I reading books to this child or this child at bedtime? So some days I feel like we hit the pillow and we're just like, what happened?
Yeah, exactly. It was all a blur.
What happened? And I still accomplished nothing. The house is a mess and
but that's life.
Kids are both crying in their room because they didn't want to go to bed yet. And I got no work done, but
we did it. The days come to an end and we'll try it all again tomorrow.
Everybody is still standing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You're still feeding them. You're still clothing them.
Totally. And then honestly, we made some decisions when I was pregnant with Elliot that were like, we will pay for the convenience if we are able to. Yep. So we have a lot of help that we pay for to keep things running smoothly. So we have our groceries are delivered once a week. And then Mark actually likes going grocery shopping. I despise grocery shopping. It is my least favorite.
I love grocery shopping online so that
Me
I don't.
too. I
just
it's great. The things, I add my little note. It's a beautiful process. I have a list saved. Right. And then I just go through the list and say, I need all of these basics.
Exactly.
Every week. Daycare, of course, we rely on support for childcare. We have cleaners who come because I honestly could not stay on top of keeping the house clean. Fair. And it's not my priority when I'm working, and I don't want to be cleaning when the kids are home. I want to be spending time with them until they go to bed so I can pull my laptop out again.
Gosh, girl. Oh, I don't know what's the saying that, we all have the same 24 hours in a day? No, I don't know if that's true.
Well, we actually do talk about this. So we don't all have the same 24 hours in a day. And it comes up, we talk about it at home a lot when you look at like a celebrity,
Mm-hmm.
for example.
Right.
And they've just had a baby and 6 weeks later they look like
Mm-hmm.
$1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And people can very easily say we all have the same 24 hours
Yeah.
in a day, but we don't.
But if you've got a private chef, if you've got a private gym in your basement with a trainer and and 6 nannies to look after the kids.
And somebody is, tightening your corset for you right before you walk out, like all of the things. So we don't really have the same 24 hours in a day. I think that that phrase to me comes from such a place of privilege.
Yeah.
But we have the power in a way to decide how we want to spend the hours that we do have free.
Prioritize
every day.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about where your priorities lie, I think.
Definitely.
And obviously yours are your kids and your business.
Yeah, kids first.
Husband too. We'll put him in there somewhere.
He's okay. He's fine.
He's got an honorable mention when you have time. Okay. So we've chatted about how you've gotten here and how you're doing. What's the future look like for you? And for amPR? Yeah. Any new projects, offerings, directions, anything you're excited about for 2025?
Yeah, great question. So I'm excited about ads, mostly because I thought I couldn't do them. And then I spent a little bit of time playing and a little bit of time learning. And I was like, oh, this is going shockingly well.
Nice. That's a good surprise.
Yes, it is. And there's so much overlap because it really is about telling the story. We're just doing it via a paid platform instead of for free. So that's kind of cool. I've been doing a lot more publicist side things, like a lot of individual brand building, which I had sort of shied away from previously because I was worried about how that would unfold over time. Like I didn't want to just be someone's personal publicist. But it's really been like a trust the process thing where the more I'm trying to put myself out there and be very authentic and like, hey, my life's a shit show, but I'll write a pitch for you if you would like. The more I have found clients who we have really good alignment. We work in a very similar way. We want a lot of the same things. So it's sort of brought, like, I think you do kind of get what you put into the world. So that has kind of worked out nicely. So it's not like an ego publicity thing. It's more of I have a story that I want to tell because I think it could impact someone else. So like Jen Warrington with the Warrington Group is amazing. And she talks a lot about career clarity. And I thought, where were you?
Right.
Where were you before, when I was applying for 100 jobs and getting no responses. Because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was so focused on just making more money. And so she and I have been working together on like helping tell her story a little bit, but also supporting, like, it is a shit show out there if you are looking for a job.
No matter the industry.
No matter what industry you're in.
I
have a friend who's in the construction industry and he's trying to hire. And he's like, it's just crickets sometimes, or you're inundated with people who don't maybe aren't qualified.
Absolutely.
It's a lot. There's a lot of energy that goes into both sides of that. And so I've been learning so much from her. And I'm really not sure what will come next. I started working on a book. So now that I'm saying it here, I have to follow through.
Can you give us a little bit of the plot, or is that still being figured out?
So it's really, I had a realization that not every person who came to me could work with me. So a few times I've been on a call, and when it came time to talk about budget, their budget might be $500. Do you know what? It would be better for you to spend $500 on some advertising than it is for you to hire me to do what you're looking for. So what I would like to do is actually build a book that kind of outlines some of the work that I do, some of the strategies that small businesses could employ themselves to actually do their own PR and marketing and storytelling. So I've been working, kind of picking away at that. I actually started it when I was pregnant and put it away for a while. And I just
Okay.
picked it up again. So I wrote 10,000 words 2 weeks
Wow.
ago. I write on Wednesdays.
Okay.
When I can. So I've been trying to block Wednesdays a couple of
Nice.
hours to spend writing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That feels a little therapeutic too, I
It
think.
is very.
Yeah.
I bought a really pretty new computer too.
Okay.
So I was like, I can do this if I.
You got to have
sit
the
down.
inspiration.
Yeah, I need to sit down at this computer that I really didn't need but really wanted.
Sometimes
and
you
now
have to
I
treat
have to
yourself.
make it work.
And exactly.
Now I have to write the book.
But that was the inspiration. You got to get yourself there.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. I think that there's, like you said, there's no one traditional way to do anything.
Totally.
And so I'm excited to see what does come next and
We'll
to
see what
read the
happens.
book and
Probably put my kids to work. Like they're gonna have to start earning their keep at some point.
at some point, right? Yeah. Pay a little rent.
Yeah, exactly.
Make a little dinner.
Exactly.
They're getting to the age.
Yeah.
18 months, right? Is that?
Yeah, he's walking now.
He'll
Totally
be-
capable. He will
yes.
bring me snacks.
Oh,
If I ask for snacks, they can open the snack drawer.
nice. And that's why we have kids.
It is. Yep.
Ashley, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
It's
you.
been a fantastic conversation. This actually might be our longest podcast to date, which we called it out in the beginning, so we can't
did.
be surprised. I think we've kept it under an hour, but it's been a great conversation.
Go
So thank you
us.
for having it
Thank
with me.
you.
Recorded by This Is Marketing, unblanding branding since 2015.